What do queer, kinky, and non-monogamous people all have in common? They all face a phenomenon called script disruption. Because our identities place us outside of traditional cultural scripts, we're pushed to ask ourselves, what do we really want in our relationships, identity, and sex? To untangle this daunting question, we'll break down how these scripts are subconsciously impacting your life, the ones you didn't even realize you were following. And to help us discover our true desires, my favorite creator, AIANO, aka Queer Homemaking, will break down how to build a life that feels rich, embodied, and romantic. Because at some point, the script stopped working.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Queer Collective podcast. I'm your host, Carbon.
And I'm Emily.
And welcome to the show. And this episode is a special treat presented by Field, the dating app for the curious. Link in the description down below, but more on them later.
In dating, do you think all the decisions that you've made are truly your own?
My own? We're talking about autonomy?
Yeah, do you think you have free choice?
I used to make decisions based on what I thought the other person wanted. Something that something that I'm breaking free of, that I'm like taking off the chains, I'm running free, I'm running wild, is I am now making decisions based on my desires and then having discussions about what those are so that I'm not just like also disregarding the other person as well.
Queer, kinky, and non-monogamous people are offered a lot of opportunities for self-reflection and for a lot more moments to ask themselves, does this actually work for me? Because the normative system that is built, at least within dominant Western culture, is not built around queerness, is not built around anything besides upholding normative culture. And so I really think of queerness as so much more than who I'm attracted to or my sexual practices, but really within the frame of queer theory of what is at odds with the norm. When the system is built for us, we don't question it because it is working in our favor. But it's when it's not built for us that we have to take time, take space, and actually reflect on what is being offered. And at the same time, not everyone accepts that invitation, whether they're queer or not.
I feel like I have beef with people pleasers.
You have beef with me? What's up?
No, not necessarily with you. I think I just feel people pleasers in general. I love you. Being on the receiving end of a people pleaser, you think that they're doing everything out of their own free will and they're choosing to do it, but they're secretly building up resentment towards you and you have no idea.
This is coming from your past dating trauma though. 100%. I'm calling that out.
It's been with multiple people, but I also feel like I've just heard this take online as well of other people reflecting on people pleasers that well.
You think that they just want to do so many things for you out of their own free will, but then it's they were building up. You're like, wow, this is amazing. This is just in their nature.
Yeah, you're so nice.
You're so giving. And then turns out they were
pissed at you actually.
Pissed? No, but they were building a list of things that you owe them perhaps, or I don't know.
Do you think the people you choose are actually people that you would want to choose, or do you think you're choosing them to appease other people?
Wait, whoa, that's crazy.
Your choices,
Are you asking me if I date people based on how other people will perceive me in that relationship?
Yeah, that's social pressures.
Whoa,
yeah.
That's a Matrix question. No, I don't do that because if somebody is very, for example, aesthetically pleasing, but we just don't vibe, I'm not gonna go there. We have to click in that way. It can't.
I thought you chose me solely based on looks.
You'd think.
Okay. That's so cute.
It's chemical. It's a chemical bond.
Well, that's part of it for sure. There's lots of scientific reasons of the biology and science behind why you'd connect with certain people. But sociologists would argue that we're actually following cultural scripts in a lot of the decisions that we're making in our life, the way that we're showing up in sex, the way we're showing up in the types of relationship styles that we're choosing.
Yeah.
All of these things, from who initiates sex to what relationships should look like, society is really giving us a playbook, is what the sociologists would tell you.
Sure. But are they observing primarily straight people?
Well, I think it impacts everyone. But like we said, people who are queer, non-monogamous, and kinky, you are disrupting those scripts. If the script is to be monogamous, to be heterosexual,
Sure.
to be cisgender, to get together, have a family, buy a house, do the things.
Do the babies.
You're immediately not really falling in line with that. And I think you can kind of try and shove yourself into it. But for a lot of people, you're going to have a aha moment where you have to sit and say, I don't fit this anyway. What do I really want?
When we think about like the hierarchy of traditional relationship structures, a lot of people can find it very limiting because it's like, oh, I need more of this, but I am supposed to only find that in one person. And for a lot of people, that works. But for other people, it doesn't.
A really interesting stat that the field team shared with us was 62% of field users shift their sexuality, interests, or desires within the first year of being on field. And kind of what I was thinking, and even just like connecting to my personal experience of being on field, is that it's a lot of queer people, a lot of non-monogamous people, and a lot of kinky people on the app. And those are kind of the things that you're maybe engaging with for the first time. It did actually make me like change my identity and like question different things about myself.
There are ways of being both like sexual and non-sexual, which allow us to figure out what we need and able to flourish. And I think that queerness is such a beautiful thing because it allows for that expansion.
Script disruption is a queer theory, but I would say that many of us continue to never realize that we're performing a script.
This is
even
true.
when we're queer. Like, and those desires may be your own, to get married and have a family and follow said cultural script. Like maybe that is your own desire, but I think lots of us never really question it, even if we have that one disruption, which is like our sexuality or our gender, right?
Queerness has really offered me an opportunity to understand what is socially constructed. And once I understand what has been socially constructed, then I can understand that it can be deconstructed and recreated. I've taken that into my practice with non-monogamy, kink, and polyamory, like communication, understanding my needs, understanding boundaries, communicating those things. It's really having, again, the understanding of what exists to be able to deconstruct it and rebuild it.
The scripts, the thing is, they're so easy. They're like nicely laid out, like a hotel bedroom. You got your towel, it's folded into a crane.
Yeah.
It's got scents on it. You're like, this is it. This is nice. I want that.
And you get rewarded for following the script. Like there's so many ways that the government structurally rewards you through tax benefits for getting married, but also just the way that like your friends and family reward you and celebrate you when you follow these things.
Yeah. How many times have you gone to your cousin's quinceañera?
Yeah, there you go.
And then they were like, do you have a boyfriend yet? Do you have plans to get married?
Exactly.
You got a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Where your boyfriend at?
These scripts also cross over into the bedroom. Sexual scripts don't just tell us what to do, they tell us what we're allowed to want as well. The foundational concept comes from sexual script theory, which was developed by sociologist John H. Gagnon and William Simon in Sexual Conduct, which was released in 1973. So this ain't nothing new.
It's from time ago.
This ain't nothing new. Their argument was very radical for this time, and it was that sexuality is socially organized, not simply biological.
So much of what we desire is innate to us, like it just is who we are. There is not this like prescriptive A plus B equals C. Of course, like our parents, our religious institutions, our governments, all of those things structure how we express who we are and how we feel that we're allowed to express who we are.
If we think of the way that the church and society enforces the way that we're supposed to have sex, it's only supposed to happen in marriage between a man and a woman. And the only thing that qualifies as sex is penetration. And the goal is procreation, right? So it's like that feels like the socially acceptable form of sexuality. And anything really outside of that can be considered kinky. Like
or
you're
not
having
sex.
Or not sex, yeah. But you're doing something that's not vanilla, like that's vanilla sex, right?
Technically.
Yeah, looking in each other's eyes.
Hey, I fuck with eye contact.
Yeah.
I fuck with eye contact.
I just mean eye contact.
Look at me.
Yeah, I mean eye contact and missionary.
Hey, no shame, no disrespect to some eye contact missionary. That sounds,
I agree.
That can be so lovely.
But we can mix it up.
We can mix it up.
Yeah, I mean, the basics are the basics for a reason. They're the
Yeah.
foundation.
Foundational.
Foundational.
Yeah. But then, so
Yeah.
what do you mean sexuality is not biological?
It's not only biological.
Not only biological.
Like I said, it's socially enforced. So, for example, society tells us that men and masculine people are supposed to be dominant in the pursuer and high desire initiators. Like they're supposed to always be horny. That puts a lot of pressure
It's a lot of
on
pressure to
a
be
masculine
horny.
person and to always be the initiator too.
It can really shape your experience and lead you to believe that you have attractions maybe where you don't actually have them, or vice versa, like can cover up or make you question attractions that you think that you have.
While men are meant to be these high desire initiators, women and feminine presenting people are taught to be submissive and passive, and that they should reduce their sexuality as well, that your sexuality means that you're a slut.
It doesn't work for you, does it?
Used up. I really hate those assumptions.
Yeah.
That's not true. According to psychologist Sadadeep Som, gender roles like these can lead to repressed expression in lower sexual satisfaction.
Correct.
So you're kind of like shoving a lot
Yeah, if
down.
you're repressing, how can you possibly be fully satisfied? You can settle for what you get and be like, this is all I'm going to get. I guess I better be happy with it. But are you as satisfied as you could be? You may never know if you're not trying.
That's true. I feel like my sex life continues to get better as I continue to unpack things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Too.
And you think you're at the pinnacle when you're there, but then it gets better and better as you continue to learn things about yourself and like throw away shame.
Yes.
And just let yourself
That's the
like
key.
live and experience things as they come.
Yeah.
And scripts, like throw them away. These scripts about male and female, masculine and feminine desire just actually simply are not true. And I've got sources to back that up.
Give me your sources right now.
Okay. So a 2014 study from the Journal of Sexual Medicine that surveyed 1,500 adults found that both men and women fantasize almost equally about being submissive.
About being submissive. Okay.
It was 53% of men and 65% of women. But notably, that is more than half of men. So clearly men are not entirely dominant. And you have to keep in mind that this is people having to like push through so many like social expectations and social conditioning. So despite all of this conditioning that you have to be so dominant, 53% still recognize
It might be
what
more.
they want. It surely is more.
Could be more.
Surely.
If we continue to like take these apart, take these scripts apart, rip them up.
100%. So cultural scripts define what desires are legitimate, what desires are shameful, and which desires are even imaginable.
Yes.
So if we go back to like what desires are shameful, I mean, this is why for me, kink spaces have been so like liberating and freeing. I think what is so cool about it is you're walking into the space where nothing is shameful. Like there's literally rules against shaming people in this space. And everyone is just like celebrating everyone's taboo things.
Yeah.
And that to me is so liberating. Like that is why I think kink spaces specifically are going to like rip away all of your cultural scripts very quickly.
They
I
do.
think that was even more powerful for me than sexuality. I would
Yes,
say you
there
can
you go.
find ways to continue to not normalize, that's not the right word.
To put yourself in the script.
In the dominant script, I would say. Like you can find ways within just your sexuality to still put yourself in that script.
Yeah.
There was
like we know people that continue the rest of the script. They're just like, I'm just going to change this one detail.
There was whole campaigns around it, right? Like in the gay liberation movement, that was a whole fraction. And that was why queer movements got so far and got a lot of the rights that we did get, is because they were trying to like whitewash and normalize, like norm the queer and like bring that to the mainstream and show like, hey, we're just like you.
We are just like you, but we're weird. And as a matter of fact, I raise you this.
Yeah.
You're not just like you.
I like that. It's so true.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who the fuck are you?
You haven't even thought of it.
I bet not.
When I met my now ex, we met when we were 19. And I remember telling them, I was like, I want sister wives without the husband.
Got it.
And that was before I like understood that I was queer too or was out. But I think there was a lot of like dissonance happening within my life because I'm also mixed. Like my dad was born and raised in Japan and my mom is third generation Euro-American. For me, I always felt like not American enough or not Japanese enough.
Yeah.
And I was always felt like I was being pulled between these two worlds. And I didn't understand that this like quote unquote third space that I existed in was a valid space and experience of its own. And so I always felt like I was trying to fit in to a norm, whether it was within like Japanese norm or like US norm or heteronorm, like whatever it was. And I was so hyper fixated on fitting within the box because I just didn't fit. It was after I realized I was in love with my ex. Even then I was like, I'm not queer. It's just this person.
The closet's glass. Yeah.
But I had this moment too, like once I had quote unquote come out, or I was like, I'm in a relationship with this person. I remember this feeling of like actually being like, oh my gosh, I still exist. Like I had this fear that if I existed without like outside of the norm, I would cease to exist. I know that sounds like ridiculous and silly, but I was like, I thought I would be invisible or would like vanish or like would cease to exist. And then I was like, oh, I'm like, I still exist. I feel much more aligned. And I was like, this is going to be so much fun. Like there's so many other aspects of my identity that I'm like excited to explore now.
With the kink spaces, you said that they were liberating, which I do agree with. But I feel like when it comes to those spaces, it's not for everyone all of the time.
Of course. I don't even think it's for me all of the time.
Yeah.
Like right now, I have not been in a kink space in like half a year, maybe like a quarter of a year.
I haven't been since the last time we all went together.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like over a year ago, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
It seems like it.
Maybe more. I go through phases in my life where like I'm wanting to do it. It's similar to when you're feeling like outgoing or more introverted. Like I think there's points in my life where like I want to party more, I want to go out and I want to see people. And there's other points where I'm wanting to just like make art and I'm feeling more introverted. And I think inward. That's part of it. But it's still a space for me. I just am not in those spaces actively at the moment.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is that it is a great space to get exposure to different things. And what I would say is that you don't have to do anything, participate in anything, talk to anybody. You don't have to dress any particular way. You could just go and observe and be like, okay, I'm done now.
Kind of moving on to like the way cultural scripts make you believe which desires are even imaginable. I've spoken about this on this podcast before, but for some people who are new, I think I never imagined that I could, one, be sapphic. In high school the whole time. I don't know. I just like, I didn't see representation. And for me, it was like not until my final year of high school when I saw in front of me people on my rugby team dating each other. And I'm like, oh,
y'all do this?
That's what I want. But I didn't clock it. Like if you don't see it, it's very hard to imagine something.
It wasn't clocking to you. You weren't
clocking.
standing on business.
I was not standing on business.
Yeah.
And then the other piece is like I didn't realize that I could be dominant either. Like I was a person who presented really well as feminine, and I didn't realize I could be masculine either. You know, like there's all these things like you follow the script and you're kind of in this cage that has bars that are spread apart wide enough for you to walk through, but you're standing on one side and you think you're stuck.
It's like
stuck here.
Minimum security prison.
Yeah, very, very minimum security prison for sure. Philosopher Michael Foucault argued in The History of Sexuality that societies regulate sexuality by defining which kinds of desires are legitimate. Because of this, people often police their own desires internally. The prison, right? Meaning they never explore attractions that fall outside of accepted norms.
Because they don't think that they can do that.
Yeah.
Which is why.
And I think so much shame, like you don't, like I was nervous to tell you, you know what I mean?
Tell me what?
Like about like my desires. Like I shoved it down so far. I didn't even think of them.
Yeah, same.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, they were shoved.
Shoved down, but you were the closest person to me at the time, which is so wild. But like, I was also close to me. And like, I wasn't talking to myself about it either. Like, shove it down.
Shove it down. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Even like when I bring up, whether it be thoughts, desires, or even not necessarily a desire, but just like a curiosity, I get nervous still.
Same.
To bring it up.
Honestly.
Here's what I'll do. Sometimes if I'm really nervous about it, I'll bring it up as like a joke. It's like, and then if you react positively or negatively, then I'm like, I was joking anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
woo.
I took the field reflection tools recently, which is like a series of questions to help you like figure out what you truly desire in relationship, sex, and dating. And I thought I had worked it all out in the last 2 years, like being in the kink spaces, being non-monogamous. Like I did a lot of research.
You're like, I got this.
Felt like I understood myself.
Yeah.
But one of the pieces of feedback that I got from it was that I am very nervous to bring up my desires to people still, even now.
Yeah.
I think the only times I feel very confident to do it is when someone outshines my freak and they come up to me and they start just listing shit off to me.
They out-freak your freak?
They out-freak my freak. They're like, so like they just start dirty talking immediately and they're saying wild shit. I'm like, I'll match you immediately. You know what I mean? But I am still too nervous to be the first to come to the freak off.
Without safety, people don't feel empowered to communicate pleasure and desire. If there's not emotional and physical safety, you're not going to feel comfortable because it's already such a vulnerable thing. Because honestly, you are risking rejection, even if it's just like these little micro rejections. And if you don't feel empowered to express those things, then you're not going to do it, right? Because it is such a risk. That emotional and physical safety are key for being able to have like open, honest, communicative relationships.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
It's extremely helpful. Like having somebody that will say things.
Yeah, like they'll embarrass themselves potentially first.
Yeah. And just like say something wild just to like catch me, just to catch me off guard and be like, throw me off and be like, how are you going to react? And I'm like, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good because now I have space to like
be weird about it.
Say what I want to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not be judged. And the thing is, what I'm noticing though about myself after taking that is that I want to be the freak. Like I want to be the one who doesn't care.
Oh, like for other people?
Yes, I would. And honestly, it's what I desire. Like I want to have freaky sex.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times, like if someone isn't out freaking my freak,
right,
I'm the one that's holding me back. Because all I need to do is show up and be a freak. But if someone is showing up in a vanilla way, I'm going to be vanilla with you.
But okay, so you are going back to your first question, not making decisions for yourself then. Are you?
I think I'm letting like social anxiety, like the judgments of others.
Get into your freak.
I'm back in my prison.
Yeah.
I'm back in my
Oh,
prison.
you just walked back in, yeah.
I walked right back in and I'm like, oh, I'm unsure if it's safe. You know what I mean? I'm like, are you going to judge me?
Yeah, because you've already like put a pillow down. You're like, this is cozy. I can go back in
I could go back in there.
Yeah. Guess what?
What?
If you're ready to start untangling cultural scripts and you're wondering, where do I even begin? Is there an app for this? Well, we recommend that you start where we did, which is on Field.
On Field, the dating app for the curious, you don't just meet others, you meet yourself.
This is why Field created a free self-discovery tool called Reflections. Reflections was designed to reveal to you yourself, what you desire, your relationship styles, and of course, your boundaries.
This is the fast track to disrupting social scripts, finding what you truly desire and building a full and aligned life.
Reflections helps you go beyond the surface, answer deeper questions about yourself, and prompts you to reflect before you connect. What are my actual boundaries? What do I deeply desire? What type of relationship do I really want? If you have the language to say what you want, you're that much closer to getting it. You got to be able to name it to claim it.
If you're wondering who Field even is, it's a dating app for the people tired of dating apps, for the people craving deeper connection, for people wanting to really know themselves, for the curious. You say your interests and desires right on your profile. Desires like friendship, being a brat, BDSM. Everyone knows where everyone stands.
Go off and write a whole college/university essay in your bio because I know I did. On Field, communication is key, and it shows.
So if you're ready to dig deep, you can take Reflections 2 ways, in the app or by visiting field.co/reflections. If you're a Field member and would like to save your insights for personal use or to share with your partner, find Reflections within the app.
And best of all of your reflection insights are completely confidential. As an ad-free, independent dating app, Field is not in the business of selling your data to third parties.
Just being on Field and interacting with so many queer, non-monogamous, and kinky people hit me with so many script disruptions all at once. I changed my gender and sexuality all in 1 year and figured out what I truly desire. Now, 2 years into this journey on Field, using the reflections tool, I found one of my final pieces for me to reflect on. And perhaps I'll reveal that later in the episode.
So try reflections now by visiting field.co/reflections or by downloading Field on the App Store or Google Play. That's Field, spelled F-E-E-L-D.
Now back to the episode.
Now that you've taken the reflections tool and we're reflecting this moment in real time, going forward on dates, meetups, kink-offs, I don't know, whatever you go to. I don't know.
What's that?
That's cool. Are you going to be a little bit more forward? Like, are you going to challenge yourself? Are you going to be a little bit more freaky? Or are you just going to go back into the mind prison where you've set up like a cozy little station?
I think it's something to be worked on. My one fear, I will also say, is like if I'm meeting up with someone who has not had very many kink experiences in their life, like I don't want to throw things at them that might like freak them out.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? That make them like
I don't mean like
uncomfortable.
say the wildest shit right away.
That is what I desire, though.
You want to say the wildest shit right away. That is what you desire?
No, I mean,
you gotta eventually
you
listen.
do have to like suss out what someone's comfortable with.
Of course.
You know, and I think like, but you can pace yourself with someone who's new. I think maybe that's
you
better.
absolutely can.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
are you now going to make it your mission to get to your desire?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll check back in.
Going back to the research, society pushes us to make choices that aren't really our own. And the biggest way that society does this that I can think of is through social rewards and punishments.
It's like you get a good treat for being a good boy.
So if you think about it, like when you do something that aligns with social scripts, you get praised, like in very big ways. When you get married, there's like a 7-day party for that. It can get ridiculous. Like you're making everybody fly to Cabo for your bachelorette. The rehearsal dinner, there's the actual wedding. Like it's like so many things.
It's a lot of things.
Just for your one relationship. And for people who don't get married, you never have that, but you're having to contribute to other people's. Beyond when someone gets married, the next thing that is a social script that gets celebrated is having a baby. Now there's baby showers, there's registries, there's all of these things, and you're getting celebrated for all of it, you know?
Yeah.
And then the next is like buying a home too. Like people really celebrate when someone gets to buy a home.
Housewarming.
Even if you're happy and you're single or you're non-monogamous or you're queer and you express that to someone, like you were saying at a family gathering, when someone says, "You in a relationship yet?"
Yeah.
Or
it's like, and then they feel bad for you.
Yeah. Or they look at you with
not.
the pity face, even if you're like, "No, I'm so happy. Like I've been like traveling. I'm doing this. I'm doing that." But you're alone.
But you're alone. So you must hate your life.
Another example I can think of, I was like speaking to my cousin about this, and I have a few like older cousins where a lot of them are married with kids, but one of them is unmarried and doesn't have kids. And she was saying that like it's never been her dream or goal to do that. She has like a successful business and successful in job and everything like that, and has like pets and is very happy, but feels like she gets like subtly excluded from her friend groups as well.
For sure. It's like, oh, you're not in a couple.
Yeah, like you don't like
You're
fit
not
into these
married.
things.
You can't hang out with us because we're all in couples.
And the way that like society is organized, it feels very much like it's organized for couples.
It is, yeah.
Even being single now, plug, I'm single. Even being single now, like it feels uncomfortable, and I'm trying to feel good about being single actually. And plug. But it does feel uncomfortable, and I feel the pressures like when we're thinking about shows, even like TV shows and representations.
It's like the end goal of this show is to end up in a partnership.
Totally. Or it's like this woman is sad, and then by the end of the movie she's in a relationship and she's happy. You know? Yeah. It's like, damn. But no one really celebrates you when you're single.
Nope.
I was just talking about this actually in the car with my friends today. Like I remember watching Glee for the first time and like seeing like femme lesbians and being like, what? I'm going to deal with that later.
Put that on pause. Yeah. I have a job right now. Yeah.
But I really thought that like to be queer, gender and sexuality were like the same thing. And I didn't understand the nuances of those. And so I was like, well, I don't fit into like that box. So obviously I'm this other thing.
Have you ever heard of the term amatonormativity? It describes the assumption that a central, exclusive, romantic relationship is normal, natural, and necessary for a fulfilling life. Amatonormativity is reinforced through social scripts, aka the shared cultural expectations about how life should unfold. It's the relationship escalator. You meet someone, you fall in love, you move in together, you prioritize that person above all else, you get married, you have a baby, etc., etc., etc.
Yes.
Right? You successfully did life.
You did it.
You checked all the boxes, but now what?
You die.
You start to resent each other slowly over time and then you die. Oh. Who said that? If you're single, even intentionally, even if that's what makes you happy, in society, you're positioned as not there yet or incomplete. I would say, like, as a single person right now, that's kind of how I feel. I'm not unhappy. I just feel anxiety about being single. Like, I feel like
you're
I'm missing
behind
something. Yeah, like I said, with a lot of the shows that I'm watching, the end goal is to end up in a relationship. It's like this person's unhappy. They meet someone, they fall in love, now they're happy. Or dating shows, like those are so popular right now. It's like everything feels like it's surrounding dating. And I'm finding that I'm needing to decenter that from my life and like try and watch like creators who are intentionally single, but it's like a lot of like mainstream high produced content is not showing that.
That's not a show. Like Single and Happy, like when have you ever seen a show like that?
Exactly.
It would be on like My Strange Addiction or
yeah, My Strange Addiction is to being single. Yeah.
My former partner and I, like we'd been together since we were 19 and the love we had was so beautiful and like our core values really, really matched. But then our like day-to-day practices of life and what we wanted and how we wanted to live out our lives just ended up being so different like 13 years later. But we're like, we really love each other and we're just going to like keep going at this until it doesn't work anymore or until something happens that makes us separate. That time came.
13 years is a long time. Did you feel like you had to, similar to when you discovered your queerness, had to like break out of scripts in order to like now live this new life?
And it was one of these things that I think was already happening in theory in my brain because like one of the things I wanted to be doing that they really didn't want to be doing was traveling. And I wanted to be like out in the world and I wanted to be living like a really expansive life. So in my mind, I was already beginning to envision the life that I really wanted and dreamed of. And then it was this like actually taking the steps to align to what that life is, which is actually the life I'm living now. And like that separation needed to happen. Again, it was just in theory, but then the actual buildup to get to this point was like incredibly humbling and incredibly painful. I have this little piece of paper on my altar that says the art of transformation. And I like really try and remind myself that transformation is a practice and a process just like the creative one. And it's going to be messy and it's going to be confusing. And often like where we think we're going is not where we end up, but it's like being diligent and dedicated to the practice of it and the art of transformation. And so I feel like by the time the breakup actually happened, I was like, okay, well, now I actually get to live this life, but now I actually have to make this happen. It took some time, but I also was going like really, really slow with myself and giving myself a lot of space and a lot of grace to process everything because it was a huge, huge life change. And like everything from how I'm approaching like my career to my dating life, to my personal life, to my spiritual practices, like it's all completely shifted in the last few years as all of this transformation and change has happened.
One, it's so beautiful, like having stayed together for so long throughout so many transformations. It's like that's the same with us and like us still being together even as friends. I'm like, it's so beautiful to have like loved each other throughout so many changes. The one quote that I hold on to that you kind of reminded me of the transformation piece is your new life comes at the cost of your old life. So it's like everything kind of has to fall apart for you to be able to transform and like come into this new life. And it is such like a mucky, icky transformation. Like it's so painful. It doesn't feel good. Do you have advice for like getting through the yucky, icky part? And do you feel like you're on the other end yet?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I'm on the other end of it, like knock on wood. I hope that I'm always in the process of transformation. Like stagnation is one of my like big fears of life. Yeah, I don't want to go through that, but also like I wouldn't be able to experience the like joy and gratitude and pleasure that I'm currently experiencing if I hadn't had the experience of the pain and the like confusion and the muck and all of that I don't want to like put it in a binary, but there is this like duality that exists. Like I feel like there's a shadow side to everything. The shadows is where there's so much information and there's so much to learn and unpack. And so you really have to feel it. I want to be able to experience like the expanse of the human experience and of my feelings and of my life.
The term amatonormativity was coined in 2012 by philosopher Elizabeth Brake in her book Minimizing Marriage. In this book, she challenges the legal and social privilege of marriage and argues for a system recognizing diverse, caring relationships. Sounds non-monogamous, including friendships and good partnerships based on mutual commitment rather than romantic and sexual norms. So she's saying, unpack the societal norms.
Sounds good to me.
Sometimes it's not that you want a partner, it's that you've been taught that wanting a partner is the only option.
Sometimes it's not that you want a partner, it's that you are told that you need a partner.
Yeah.
And without a partner, your life could be better. Without a partner, like your business is successful but not successful enough. Your life is fruitful but not fruitful enough. You have friends but you don't have a partner.
Or I think there's this idea that like you aren't capable, especially as someone who's been like raised and socialized as a woman, is that like you aren't capable of taking care of yourself, of providing for yourself, of keeping yourself safe, like caring for yourself when you're feeling down emotionally, like you need a partner to regulate your nervous system. And I think what I'm trying to do right now is like show myself that I can provide for myself in this economy. Yikes. In this economy.
Still questionable.
When I'm stressed about not being able to provide for myself, I can comfort myself.
There you
know
go.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And that I can give myself like the love and affection that I would give to another person, and that can feel fulfilling as well.
I like that. Yeah, it's like dating yourself.
The effects of amatonormativity can feel something like a phantom desire, which is what psychologists refer to as an intense longing for a person, object, or state of being that is either entirely imaginary or rooted in a distorted memory or no longer exists in a person's life. It's a form of cognitive or emotional illusion where the mind chases an idealized fantasy rather than a realistic goal. And the typical way that this manifests is through idealizing a toxic ex. Like you guys break up and then you think the grass is greener, you think about all the nice things about them and you kind of forget all of the bad things, right? That's like a phantom desire.
And then you want them back?
Yeah, it's not real. And then you get back together and you're like, oh, right.
You're like, this didn't work.
Yeah.
There was a reason this didn't work.
Silly. However, amatonormativity can create kind of a similar effect. Instead of I want the specific person, aka your fantasy version of your ex, it becomes I want a relationship, even if you don't actually feel the desire internally.
Immediately after the breakup happened, I gave myself a year of not dating, not having sex. Was like, I want to give myself an entire 12 months to just have the space to grieve, to process. I didn't want to be experiencing like new relationship energy or anything that would like distract me from that grief process. Like I didn't want distraction, but I wanted to like feel the depth of my pain and like actually be able to process it and transmute it, because it stays in the body and it will come out later. So like I'm not trying to like stuff anything down. I want to give myself the opportunity to like go through that. And it's not like, okay, at the 12-month mark, everything's good. But I was like, 12 months feels like a good amount of time. I'll like assess then. And so as I've approached dating now, this shadow side to me feels really sacred. And I think I've maybe shared it more with people in the past. I'm not as urgent to like let people in, if that makes sense. Feels like a lot slower. It feels more intentional. I'm also trying to casual date for the first time in my life. I just really got to like center my own needs. There was just this like sense of like relief and freedom, and just I was like, oh, this is the feeling that I've been wanting. This is the feeling that I've been desiring.
I think what we end up missing is like you said, the good moments. And then those good moments consist of things like laughing with somebody or cuddling with somebody, like being held with somebody, especially when you're feeling low. That comfort of somebody physically holding you can be like, it just feels really nice. It feels very supportive. You know, it's like, in a way, kind of like maternal, like when you're a kid and like your mom hugs you, like because you stubbed your toe or something. You know, it's that kind of like support that like we are all able to give to each other. And then a lot of times people don't have a friend that can do that for them.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of socialized not to have like physical intimacy with friends.
Yeah.
Which is so silly. And I think in other countries they don't really do that. Like
What do
I'd
you
say
mean?
in like European countries, even like just traveling, like you see like I think I saw 2 Italian women together and I was with them hanging out. The 3 of us, we just met that day and like decided to go to a hot springs, and they were so touchy-feely with each other and like so intimate and
that's
loving.
nice.
And I was like, how long have you guys known each other? I was like, you must be traveling together.
Right.
I figured they were longtime best friends, and they're like, oh, we just met today. And I was like,
Oh,
what?
what?
But I was like distancing myself, right? I wasn't as touchy-feely as they were, but they
Right.
were so intimate like that, you know? And I'm like, I think it is a bit of social conditioning that tells us that we can't be like romantic in that way with our friends.
Yeah.
Really encourage people to think about their sexual orientation, their ideologies that they've internalized, the way that they show up in relationships, the way that they say yes or no or express pleasure and desire. How do we do that in a way that feels good?
You know what I've been doing now?
What?
As I'm in a relationship now, I decided to do some solo traveling and intentionally like went by myself to Mexico and put myself in those situations where I'm like, I can't lean on anyone. I can't rely on them. I have to figure everything out myself. And not only that, but like I have to speak Spanish and practice that.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's just, I got me.
Yeah. And I think that's a good practice, like for people who even are in relationships but want to work on their independence. Because I
Yeah.
think the way we view a relationship socially is that it should become very interdependent.
And like this is it, like now
Locked in.
but not just in a sense of like now you have to do everything together.
Yeah.
And while it can be so lovely and nice to do things like with your partner, it's also such like an important, challenging but like crucial for development growth thing to do things by yourself, even if you could do it with your partner.
Yeah, I agree.
But on top of that, I also feel like traveling solo is something seen that is for young people in their 20s / early 30s that they have to get out of their system so that they can end up with someone. And then from that moment on, they have their
You settle down and
companion,
you
you
do the
settle
life.
down, and that life is behind you. But I saw this post recently of this like elderly woman in her retirement that now is like, I'm going to travel the world solo.
I met someone like that when I was in Thailand. It was like this older German woman who was retired. She's a retired teacher, and she was staying in hostels. And I gotta say, like that's not comfortable when you are old. It wasn't comfortable at my age, you know, but like she was meeting younger people. And honestly, at certain points, I felt out of place in a hostel because like so many people were like 19 years old. But I was like, damn, once I met her and she's like, yeah, I'm like socializing, living in hostels, like doing whatever. I'm like, sick.
Living your
There's
life.
no age limit.
That's killer.
Yeah, I think that's another script is like, we can't do anything once we've reached a certain point, and like everything has to happen on a certain timeline as well. It's like that can give us so much anxiety. Like you need to have kids by this point, you need to be married and in a relationship by this point, and it just is, it's wrong. You really talk about building a romantic, rich, and embodied life, and I'm wondering if you can share like what this actually means in practice.
I feel like I can't talk about this without mentioning Audre Lorde's work, The Uses of the Erotic. The erotic is the like measure between your sense of self and, I think she says, like your biggest feeling. And once you've experienced that texture and that like deep embodied sensation of pleasure and aliveness, you can't go back.
Your sense of self and your biggest feeling. Can you give me an example of that?
This space between like who I am and like what I know I am capable of experiencing and like trying to
like lessen the gap.
So that's how I've understood it. And so for me, like romance is so much more than like dates and things like that. It doesn't even have to do with other people. It's really like a practice of like being in flirtation with life and this like potential energy that exists within every interaction in every moment and in every space. And so when it comes to like my home, how can I cultivate that romance? For me, it's through like lighting and sound and scent and texture and visuals of flowers and candles. Like there's like this whole like really sensual element that exists to it. And in like each moment, it's like, okay, I'm going to, instead of sitting in traffic on the highway, I'm going to take quote unquote the long way home, but it's the scenic route where I get to look over the bay, and I'm going to put the top down of my convertible, and I'm going to listen to like really dramatic Italian classical scores, you know, like had like building that life and that feeling, which then gets me into this like word rich, which to me has nothing to do with like monetary fortune or anything like that. It's truly a texture. So it's like juicy and plump and luscious. Like it's that texture that I crave in my life, which is in conversation with the romance, but it's like, that's the texture I'm after. It's that like decadence. And then the embodiment to me is the aspect that actually lets me experience both the romance and the rich texture. Because if I'm not in my body, if I'm not experiencing sensation, if I am numbed out, like romance and richness are not accessible to me. So it like really lives within the body and is this like super like embodied sensorial experience.
Beyond social pressures, the social scripts are also being enforced through representation. For example, one of the biggest impacts of like a lack of representation is compulsory heterosexuality, right?
And I was kind of you gotta do it.
I was kind of talking about this, but we have a whole episode on comp het for
gotta
people to
do
check
some
out.
hetero stuff.
For people to check out as well.
You know who don't these days?
Who?
Like Gen Z queer people that like realized who they were younger.
They don't do any heteros?
Oh, well, some don't.
Yeah.
Like young Miko.
Yeah, how old are they? Am I allowed to say they're hot?
Are
Are they like 19?
I don't know how old they are.
Yeah.
But like imagine a world where you're like, actually I'm queer super early on, and like it's, you know, more socially accepted as it is today, to the point where you're like, I don't even got to try the stuff that I don't want to try.
Exactly. I think that is the beautiful impact though of what our generation has gone through, of like advocating for more representation on screens, because these people have grown up with Netflix shows that feature queer romance like openly and outwardly. And that creates a new script for people. Yeah. You know, and that's like actually very powerful, because when we don't see any queer love on screen, we're taught that heterosexuality is the only option.
The only love.
You know?
And the biggest, the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Thank you, Trump. And because of this, we shove down any potential homosexual feelings and misread them as like admiration, friendship, or even jealousy. Oh. It's like, why am I thinking about this person so much? I must be jealous.
Yeah, I must want what they have. Their life, their friends, their hairstyle, their... Oh no, you just want them. Perhaps.
On compulsory heterosexuality.
Damn.
You want to know more about that? Check out our episode with Tyra.
Hell yeah.
Another element that impacts what we can imagine for ourselves is language.
How so?
If we can't name it, we can't claim it.
Oh.
Right? This is why identity labels and naming your own experience is actually quite critical to self-actualization.
The thing about labels, though, is that some people get upset. Like, oh, I can't be defined by a label. A label does not define me, which is fair. However, they can be very helpful in helping you understand generally which path or which community or which, you know, group of people you kind of like are going in a similar direction to.
I think it can introduce you to people who have done the path before. It can give you some representation, some role models. It gives you a little bit of a script that you can follow that maybe feels closer to you, because I think what is challenging is writing your own script entirely from scratch and having no representation. Because like I said, when you can't see it, it's hard to understand what you want to do, right?
And I suck at writing. If you're one of those people that don't like a script, they're like, nothing can define me. As humans, though, we have similarities to one another in some form. You can take a script and you can be like, okay, I like this, 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 and this. I might use that. Take another script and you can be like, okay, I like this, this, and this. I might use that. And then you create your own script. Boom, there you go. Like a brand new thing where you feel good and comfortable and unique. Yeah. And like you have agency. But scripts are helpful because they give us, whether it be inspiration, general guidance, you know, just something to go off of.
Absolutely. And I think an example of how powerful language is when the sexuality labels for gay, lesbian, and bisexual were all developed. In The History of Sexuality by Michael Foucault, he actually talks about this phenomenon, and clearly people were having these sexual experiences before the labels existed. However, it wasn't until medical and legal discourses began to name these terms that homosexual, bisexual, and lesbian people began to come together and form early like homophile movements, which predated the gay liberation movement. It's because they found a community that they could come together and organize around against collective oppression. Right. And that brought people a lot of like community, common experiences, place to gather, all of these things, even though it was also really bad. It was really pathologizing the way, you know what I mean? Like it was in legal context, like it was to criminalize and pathologize gay people, but it also gave you power as well. So the thing is, we have our own labels now that have been community formed, and those are powerful in their own regards. It just shows the level of power, though. You know, it's like this brought people together to form liberation movements.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't all follow the same script. We don't all have the same label, but we got a little vibe.
Even when you look at kink communities, like those kinds of subcultures, they create their whole entire languages as well that help people communicate and view sex in entirely new ways. And I would say like when I entered that world, it did reframe my understanding around sex, being able to use these different like negotiation styles, even just like different ideas around the way you can interact sexually with a person. And it became so expansive for me. You're like, oh, this is a new script, you know, this is a new thing that we can follow that feels much more liberating than the old script.
It's about finding what you like and what works for you at the end of the day.
The problem is when social scripts and personal desire conflict, people often experience some really yucky feelings. You feel like you're not in alignment, and that can come across as like shame, confusion, delayed sexual self-discovery, all of these things. For example, a man may desire to be submissive, but feels that it threatens his masculinity.
For sure.
And they'll shove that down, you know?
You know what I realized in my field reflections tool, like the results that I got, was that I thought that I had a really low sexual drive and a really low sexual desire. But I think it's only because I've heard stories of people who are like always ready to go anytime, anywhere with anybody, like hypersexual types of drives. Yeah. So I was like, that's a high sex drive. Therefore, I must have a low sex drive. And then what I learned was that I don't at all. Like actually, it did say that I have a high sex drive.
Interesting.
Not the highest, surely. I'm not ready to go all the time. But it's just that the conditions under which I feel that are different. Like I'm not ready to go with anybody anytime. Like there's so much like trust and like conversation that needs to be built and had, which is the demisexual part of me coming through.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of interesting because I feel like it's a bit of an opposite experience to me. Do you think like having exposure to the kink scene and seeing a lot of people who have very high sexualities maybe confused you more around that?
I think it did.
Interesting.
While it created some clarities in some avenues, it created some confusion in other avenues where it's like, whoa, these people...
Is this the new normal? Yeah.
Not the new normal. Yeah, kind of a little bit. Like these people are ready to go in a public setting all of the time. Like no shame. I'm like, I'm not like that. Not in the sense of like no shame, but like I just like I don't really like being watched.
I think this is a really good example that just because one thing is the opposite of what's like normal in society doesn't mean that that's right for everyone.
Right.
Tap in with your body, reflect on what you actually want, what actually feels good for you, like what is a true desire for yourself. And I mean, field reflections tool, that's also a good way to know. But how do you know that? And then follow that and keep touching in. Like if you are going off of that path, maybe check in and like guide yourself back.
I try and set like a intention for myself each year. And my intention was to do things that scare me that won't kill me. That I was like, what's the worst that could happen? And my life expanded in such beautiful ways that year. And I've been doing thing since this last summer. I don't know if you saw that TikTok, Richie's Journal, and they have this video about timeline jumping. And they talk about everything everywhere all at once. And they're like, do you know why they had to do these ridiculous things to jump timelines? And it's like, because our realities are created from our actions, thoughts, and feelings. To do something to shift our reality, we have to do something that changes our actions, our thoughts, or our feelings. It can be something as little as saying yes when you would say no, or like wearing like the blue shirt when you would always wear the green shirt, and like little things like that, and disrupting our patterns.
Yeah, disrupting the patterns. Yeah.
You're at least starting to make decisions, or at least for me, it was me making decisions that were in line with the person that I wanted to be and the life I wanted to live.
What I learned by exposing myself to in these kinds of scenarios that I've never had been exposed to before.
Yeah.
Whether
a lot of people
like
haven't.
sex clubs, kink clubs, like these different things. I was like, oh, at first I was like, okay, this is the cool thing. I gotta be good at doing this and to be cool. Damn. And I gotta be here all the time. Like that's what I thought was required of me in my own head to be cool. Right. And then as I was like sitting through it, and it's been a while now, you know, since that, you know, those first experiences, and now I'm like, I definitely don't need to be in there all the time at all.
No, and like this idea of what's cool too, I think that's also a script, is like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's like what works for you.
Hang out with people that think you're cool for being yourself. And the thing in queer dating, LGBTQ people face something called script disruption. We've been talking about this whole episode. Our identities place us outside of traditional cultural scripts, which pushes us to become reflective about our relationships and our desires. Without traditional scripts, queer people must often actively construct relationship norms. You know what I'm saying? So this is like who initiates flirting, who initiates the date, who pays on the date, how sexual roles are defined and relationship structures, all of these things. I know the first time I went out with a woman, I've heard a lot of people have this panic. It's like, this is why I think like our sapphic sex and dating episodes pop off so well, because people are like, what's the script?
I don't know what to do. Yeah.
Like, and literally tell me what to do minute by minute.
Us having like some experience now, we're like, oh yeah, like this is obvious, but it's not obvious. No. And we wouldn't have thought that it was obvious when we were first starting out.
Absolutely not, and I didn't. And I think over time though, the phenomenon that you see is like the community works to create its own scripts. So this is kind of where we've gotten like butch femme, stone top and pillow princess, top and bottom, like there's plenty specifically in the gay community too, and like versatile as well. Like there's so many of these labels, and in apps that are more queer friendly, like Field for example, is like you can put that right in your interests, desires, and like who you are. Yeah. You know, so people know right off the bat, and then there's no confusion. We're all being honest. This is also why queer communities have, I think, also widely embraced ethical non-monogamy too, and like kink practices. It's like we've kind of been on the forefront of creating all of these things because I think they kind of come hand in hand. It's like once you come out as a lesbian, if you come out as a gender deviant, you're on the slide now. And it's like, you could take yourself off, but it's like, it's all kind of a pipeline. Queer people have been at the forefront of like boundary discussions, consent practices, chosen family structures, and all of these very much exist outside of cultural norms.
And not only that, but trend setting.
Oh,
like even just this, you know how everyone's doing this, except some straight people are doing this.
Yeah, that's not right.
And it's not the same thing, but it's this one.
Yeah. And heterosexual men are stealing our culture.
They're stealing?
Yeah.
Those thieves.
Do you not see them dressing like bisexuals? The thing that I have come across.
They're trying to signal, I'm safe to you. Please approach me, please.
They're not always, though.
You tricked me.
Unfortunately, I think it's the Jacob Elordi effect.
In the process of disrupting all of these scripts that were handed to you, are you happier now than when you were following them?
Yeah. I do feel happy, and I also feel sad, and I feel angry, and I feel confused. I feel like the whole spectrum of emotions. That's like more than like moving towards happiness. I want to move towards like fullness and towards expanse. Reframing failure not as like a negative thing, but as just another lesson. Because there's so much information in that. And I always say, like, whether it's in dating or a life endeavor, like, it's all just information.
it's really difficult at times, I would say. Like, it forces you into a lot of growth, and growth feels painful. You constantly feel like you're doing something wrong sometimes. Like at social gatherings, like with family and those kinds of things, it can feel maybe like you're not living up to people's expectations. But I think it's about constantly pushing those feelings away and asking yourself, like, what is truly yours? Like, what do you really want? And I would say that I am building a life that feels like very full and very beautiful. Sometimes I'm sad, but I think like I was sad before too. I experienced a range of emotions before and I experience them now. However, I feel more aligned in my body. When you're not aligned, you feel that something is wrong.
Yes.
It feels yucky.
It feels,
your body's screaming at you.
That's exactly what it feels
you're
like.
Going about the same thing every single day, and like it's just this nagging, constant feeling.
This is like deep permeating anxiety that won't leave you alone.
And once you're in alignment, that voice calms down, I will say. The thing is, it's kind of navigating what your internal voice is versus the anxious voice.
Like what you were saying before, that you always think that the grass is greener for somebody else's situation.
Yeah.
And it's really about taking inventory of your own grass and understanding that like it is green enough and that you have the tools to water it.
I think this is kind of where journaling and like setting very intentional goals and like your plans for the year can kind of come in as well. And I think the reflection tool can help you do that. It's like, what do I really want? Figure that out. And then write it down for yourself. It's like, what am I envisioning for this year? And what I appreciated about what AIANO shared is that they intentionally chose to be single for 12 months, you know, and like made a commitment to themselves to do that.
Yeah.
And I think making commitments like that is how you stay true to what you really want. And that gives you like a baseline to continue to check into.
Yeah. And for me, even though I didn't commit myself to be single, I am committed to better understanding myself and what I want and not depriving myself of something that I don't think that I deserve, because I do have a huge like deservability problem as well.
For sure. I'd say you're also committed to your own independence within a relationship.
Absolutely.
As well, like even in solo traveling. And I think that's growth too.
Well, I think that's a great place to end it.
Can you share where people can find you and what you've got going on, if there's anything that you want to plug?
So you can find me on TikTok. It's at queer_homemaking. You can also find me on Instagram at AIANO _AIANO. I also have a website that's my first and last name, AIANONakagawa.com. Literally just today completed the first round of these curated Japanese country life experiences that are really surrounded around regulating your nervous system, nature, and food, and craft experiences with local community. So I would love to like travel and eat with people. Hopefully you both in the future.
That sounds so
awesome.
Yeah, it really does. And I feel like you really are, like I said, the role model that people should be following online, like if they really do want to build a life that feels full and embodied. And that's why you're one of my favorite creators. You help me feel that way. So thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably online. We really appreciate you and your time.
I appreciate both of you so much. Please continue doing this work. It's so amazing.
So that is everything that we have for you today. And if you want to dive deeper into social scripts and compulsory heterosexuality, we have a whole episode on it with Tyra. It's called Are You Straight or Is It Compulsory Heterosexuality? Make sure to check out the dating app Field, dating app for the curious, link in the description down below.
That's FEELD.
Thank you, Field, for sponsoring this episode. That's everything that we got. And until next time, peace.